Welcome, everybody, to Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. This is episode 183. We are talking about the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Took a minute there.
Yeah, it's like I'm your host, Ricky. With me, as always, Dennis.
What's up? Welcome back from your trip.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 weeks. I'm excited to not do anything. And the sad part is my life is so busy right now that I don't have a free day to like 2 weeks, and it's a blessing and it's a curse.
Yeah. Well, you made that bed.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for that.
No. But yes, in between this week and last, I went into the deep in the heart of Texas to go see some family.
That's true.
Yeah, just enough time for me to see everybody and then get the fuck back home for various reasons.
What was the nerdiest thing you did while you were in Texas?
We went to go see Mission Impossible. Is it 7? I don't know. They don't number them anymore.
I think it's like 18.
18?
I don't know.
I guess it's the last one.
Until they do another one.
Yes. That's a movie you see with your parents, your father. I feel like that's a good dad movie. Mm-hmm. Dad's like Tom Cruise in action. Hey, Mission Impossible is basically Tom Cruise in action, the movie. I have not seen a Mission Impossible. I think I've skipped the last like 2 or 3.
Okay.
So I had no idea what the hell was going on.
Yeah. Was there a knock list?
A knock list?
Oh, there was not a knock list in this one.
What's a knock list?
Knock list.
No, what's a knock list?
That's the list in the first movie, and then they like reference it in other movies and stuff.
There's a lot of flashbacks. You see a lot of young Tom Cruise in this movie.
Spoilers. Right. I always love when movies do that.
The exposition at the beginning of this movie is like insane, because I imagine they have to catch everyone up who hasn't also not seen the other ones.
Because it's technically a 2-parter, and the first part came out like a year or 2 ago, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the second. This is the conclusion of a 2-parter. So they had to. I mean, that's good though. That's like the job of a movie is to tell it. Yeah. I'm not saying they necessarily did it good or well, but I'm saying the job of a movie is to stand on its own. So if it needs to recap you on stuff that happened previously, then it is the job of that movie to do so. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. People came back who were in the series at some point, but I'll give it credit. The final action sequence involving planes was pretty cool. It's like when you look at it through the lens of, man, that's an old ass Tom Cruise still at it.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, the job of a movie thing, we'll bring that up later in our discussion of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's a pro in the case of that.
Drop the just Guardians of the Galaxy.
Is the first one just the? Or I mean, the first one's no the?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because he always says, "We're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch." You're right. There's no the.
That was probably like the nerdiest thing I did all weekend. I played a lot of Blatro on the plane.
That's free on Plus this month, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played my phone. Like,
that's funny. Oh no, I know. I have it on my phone too, but I'm just saying. I think it's a weird game to play on your PlayStation, because it doesn't look any better. You know what I mean?
Like, let me sit in front of my huge TV and play Blatro.
Yeah. Maybe it's cool.
Are you gonna Switch 2 this week?
No.
I
don't care enough. I also didn't get a Switch 1 when they first came out either. I waited about a year.
I'm about to be. You have one.
I do have one, and I don't play it enough to justify getting a 2.
That's fair.
I I think it's a cool machine sometimes, and most of the time, like I got bummed because I was like doing my budget stuff for like family budget stuff this week, and I just noticed I got billed like for Nintendo Online recently, and I was like, I still pay for this? God damn it! Like like I don't play online, really. I don't even play their NES like free.
Yeah, I think they're up to like N64 now on there.
I know, but I just don't. I don't really take advantage of it because I don't care enough. Because I'm just not the kind of person to go back and play old games. Like it's not.
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm not that person. I like a remaster, but I don't necessarily want to go back and play the same.
Yeah, it cracked me up because our friend of the show, Clark, I was talking to him the other day about like, I was singing the praises of Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which is a game you will never play because it's not for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, are you playing this? It's amazing. And he's like, nah, I'm doing a playthrough of Oblivion. And I'm just like, that is a big game. Why would you go back and play a game that old? I get it though. Like there's some people that's their whole thing. Frank, that's his thing too. He loves to revisit old games and stuff. For me, I just, I have the cherished memory of a game, and I don't really need to go back very often. Unless it's like Balatro, you know what I mean? And then it's like there's no end to the amount of times you can play that kind of thing. But if it's a story, I just keep it in my heart. It's good. It's better there.
Where it belongs.
Yeah, it's good. That is not true about movies though. Like I think because movies are less of an investment, right? Like it's like I
guess there's a defined ending in terms of like time.
Yeah. Like I did not mind watching Guardians of the Galaxy for the probably 15th time in my life today. You know what I mean? Like it's 2 hours. Could I have done more productive things with my 2 hours? Possibly, but then I wouldn't be prepared to talk about it today. So
we're like not that far from like a Superman. 2 weeks. Can you buy tickets to Superman yet?
Not 2 weeks. It's July.
Oh, so I was thinking June.
No. It's July. Superman's like
what's in June?
July 11th, I think. July 11th.
What movie comes out in June?
I don't know, but did you hear about Lilo and Stitch? The other
I heard people hate it.
Well, did you hear the spoilery stuff about it?
I know they changed some things. Some certain people are in it. You
don't know the big spoiler?
Yeah.
The ending?
Are we gonna say it, or I know you're worried about spoilers.
I mean we've said spoiler like 14 times now. Like I mean I've heard from the internet who is happily spoiling this movie because they're pretty pissed off that like Nani gives Lilo up for adoption at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so
she can go off to the mainland.
Yeah.
To go to college.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of missing the point of Lilo and Stitch.
I'm not gonna like imprint Hawaiian cultural norms and maybe
but you grew up there, and I think
long-lasting sentiment towards the mainland, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
You know that ain't right though, right?
It's a choice.
It's a choice that's killing that movie.
It's a choice that I'm going to argue that most people in this country won't be aware of the subtext of that choice.
Fair enough. Doesn't mean it's a good choice though. It doesn't mean that. Most people in this country are going to miss subtext in a lot of things, and that's fine. Whatever. That's what Mission Impossible 18 is for.
Yeah, you see old Tom Cruise at it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, they've got a Top Gun 3 on the way. That was another little nugget that came out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all.
But
I'm not. I ended up not seeing either movie. I just once I heard that about Lilo Stitch, I was like, well, I don't think I was gonna go see this movie anyways. But I'm just not a big fan of live action remakes of cherished Disney animated movies. Especially if your intent is not to make it better.
To come out next year?
No, I cannot wait for that.
With The Rock?
Because I do not want to wait for that. I'm not going to wait for that because I have no intention of seeing it.
The probably the biggest movies coming out next month are Ballerina and F1 and How to Train Dragon. But I don't care about How to Train Dragon.
And Keanu is in the Ballerina?
Yeah, it's like an in-betweener.
Okay.
I have not seen like past John Wick 2, mind you.
Oh, wow. 3 and 4 are nuts.
Have you watched The Continental?
It is not good.
Oh. Mel Gibson's The Continental?
I do not recommend that show. I probably watched 1.5 episodes of it. Maybe not even a full 1 episode. I couldn't get through it. It was boring, and it just completely missed the point. Now, maybe people who stuck it out enjoyed it more than I did, but I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Like, I like John Wick. I'm not going to say I like John Wick because of John Wick, but I think the secret subtext I like about all the John Wick movies is that they are badass action movies for lovers of dogs. And I think the Continental kind of forgot that, you know what I mean? And they just wanted to tell a specific part of the story that's in the thing, and it's a part that you don't care about because it's characters that you didn't know about. And yeah, it's not great. It's not great. But I highly recommend you power through to 3 and 4, because 4 is balls to the wall action. Like, it is some of the coolest action sequences you'll ever see. And yeah, it's a pretty cool ending to that whole story. It's pretty cool. Highly recommend.
Any other TV shows that you've watched or finished this week?
Oh my god, dude. My wife and I are completely invested in wrestling now.
Really? Like WWE or AEW?
Yes, WWE. I think I mentioned before, like a month and a half ago, we watched WrestleMania, which is something we've done for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
we've just watched WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I guess, I don't know, like we were in that moment, like we're not ready to commit to Apple Plus yet, and we still have a few things.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah. Well, no, not WrestleMania. WrestleMania's on Peacock. But so we were just kind of like still like trying to see all the value we can get out of Peacock. And then we watched WrestleMania for the 2 days. And then, I don't know, we had fun. We had fun watching it. And so the next day, the Monday night, we watched Raw on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And it was really fun to see like some of the people who won titles on like Sunday have now lost titles on Monday. And it's pretty funny. And you're like, yeah. And Lindsay's like, what, how, that's crazy. And I'm like, that's the whole part. It's the story, you know? And so I'm like, I'm like holding her hand as she starts learning about the bonkers world of.
I'm about to say, like,
of
has
wrestling.
She seen the Iron Claw?
Yeah, she's seen the Iron Claw. But maybe she didn't watch the whole thing actually because she couldn't handle the stress of it. But she started really enjoying kind of like the silly stories of it all and theatricality. And so next thing you know, like, we were watching, Raw every week. Mm-hmm. And then we can't really watch SmackDown because like that's contractually like only on cable, like and mm-hmm. I think it's TNT is where that one is. I'm not mm-hmm. sure. And then we watched it for a few weeks, and then this past weekend there was another premium live event, or like no, it was, I think,
SummerSlam or
no. I think Saturday was the main event on NBC mm-hmm. on Saturday night, and we watched that, and it was fun. And then they're promoting NXT had a live event on Sunday, and mm-hmm. Lindsay's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's kind of like the minor leagues for WWE." And so she's like, "We should watch that," and we watched that, and she got to meet all these new characters. And she actually had more fun watching that one than the day before, just because the events of the day before weren't that great. And so now we're like, okay, now we're watching that. And then we're like, well, we have to watch Raw. And so we watched Raw, and next thing you know, our Memorial Day weekend was 3 scheduled days of live. We didn't wait till it was done. We watched it live with the commercials all 3 days in a row. And then next thing you know, like Tuesday, I'm like, hey, apparently NXT has a show on the CW on Tuesday nights. And then so we haven't stopped. We haven't
You're
stopped
those
watching
people
this.
now. Have you
We are those people.
seen the McMahon Netflix documentary?
Nah, I'm afraid to show her that. I know how bad it is. Okay. Like here's my thing, Ricky.
Well, they do a good, like, most of that show is the history of the WWE.
Yeah, but
the thing happens halfway through. So the back half of that documentary is post scandal. And it's actually kind of interesting in that context, I will say.
But there's always been scandals. Like the WWE is not a clean thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that have been
you watch it. They get into it.
Abused, misused,
people die,
mistreated, killed, like, or not killed, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's but at the end of the day, like it's kind of like that whole art separating artists from art, like you got to pick your battles, and like how many hundreds and thousands of people produce this show, and
so what you're saying is we can still listen to R. Kelly.
I'm saying that's different, but you can't. Everybody is entitled to do whatever they want. But I'm just saying that the wrestling stuff is pretty damn entertaining. It's produced pretty much by Triple H nowadays. He's the main guy in charge of the whole thing. And it's pretty cool to like. It's pretty cool that like every few years or maybe decades, I can stop, and then you can just jump right back in and enjoy the stupidity of the stories, and get enamored by like the cheesy acting, or sometimes you catch one or two that are like, whoa, you're a really good actor. You know what I mean? Like you have a potential of doing this beyond this if you wanted to, you know, and it's really fun. It's fun to watch. So I fully nerded out on that. The funniest thing to me was watching the tiers of the offerings. Like Netflix is like the highest tier, so they book the giant stadiums, like the really big ones, you know? And then like SmackDown, it's significantly smaller, and then you get to the NXT ones, and the house lights, you can see everybody's faces in the crowd, like because it's that small of a venue. And then I think last night we awkwardly watched Evolve, which is like the show where people compete to end up on NXT. And they do that at their like performance center in Florida, which is like basically their training area.
What you're saying is we're going to go to WWE San Diego.
Yes, you know when we're doing that?
When?
Thanksgiving Survivor Series. We already looked it up. We got this.
That's at Becco. Yeah.
We got this. We already. Lindsay
are you seriously going?
Oh yeah, we're gonna.
Is it Thanksgiving week or no?
It's Thanksgiving Saturday.
Ooh, I get back in town.
You know they're in LA in next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
It's like stupid expensive here.
It's not as expensive as you'd think.
Next weekend?
Not this Saturday, but the weekend after.
You know what's next Saturday?
What?
My birthday.
Oh, well, you should definitely go for your birthday.
I will say, like, through where I worked at last, wrestling and the intricacies of it definitely were more apparent to me. And like I do appreciate, like, it's anime, it's like human anime, and the scandals aside, the show that they put on a weekly basis it's very impressive from like entertainment.
It's quite impressive that they do it like basically probably 5 days out of the week. Too, I think.
I mean, regardless of that, to produce live content 5 days of the week is insane.
Yeah. No, that's what I was saying last night when I was like, can you imagine if Marvel put out a new program every day of the week? Like that would be unheard of. It just can't happen. Like And that's what this group has done. Like, they've created an empire where they can have content. Dude, the one last night is exclusively streaming on Tubi. Like, I had to launch the Tubi app to watch wrestling last night. I didn't have to, but like I chose to, you know. But it's pretty wild. It's wild how much they've spread their grasp across the globe, and like, you know, they just bought like a whole luchador like group recently, and they're gonna premiere, I think, this Saturday or next Saturday. I can't remember which one it is, but
it's next. Yeah,
it's the next Saturday, because it's Money in the Bank is one of the days, and then the other day is like
the luchador event.
The luchador one. Yeah,
they're across the street from each other.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going there. Is that what you're saying? You're saying? No, we can't. We decided not to try the LA one because Lindsay's actually coming back from a trip, and she's gonna be tired and stuff. So
is she flying into LAX?
No, but Survivor Series in Petco Park, we're waiting for the tickets to go on sale for sure. So if that's something you want to do,
I need to check when I get back in town. But yes, we actually might. We're probably flying out of San Diego too that week.
Just curious, have you ever been to a WWE event?
I've never been. We've had tickets to go to one when I was a kid in Corpus Christi, Texas. The show we were going to go to was the one right after Chris Benoit killed his family.
Oh.
And that show got canceled. And we never came up again. It never happened.
Yeah.
RIP to that whole situation, but yeah, that was the one and done. I mean, I never really watched it as a kid. We didn't really watch wrestling. I never really was I had an Xbox and at a very early age, so watching live television was boring to me. If that makes sense.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about it. I was trying to figure out like what caused me to fall out of love with it when I was a kid, because I was explaining to like the more and more we watched it, the more she started realizing I used to watch a lot of it when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she understood that until, you know, I started imparting all my wisdom. And then she was, you know, we started thinking about like, I was like, you don't understand. When I was a kid, they had cartoons and they had live events on Saturday morning to like promote their stuff. They were that popular. And then I was like realizing, I was like, what was it that stopped me? And I was like, you know what? It was that freaking Nintendo. It was the Nintendo.
I was really into monster trucks. So monster trucks back in the day, Monster Jam was wrestling adjacent, like in terms of like the storylines they would weave in, like people would fight each other in the back, like stage fight. And they even had wrestler monster trucks that were actually like some of the best trucks. Like, I mean, because they have the most sponsorship money. And funny enough, like it all like very parallel worlds, but that's the side of the Venn diagram that I went down as a kid.
No, okay, that's cool. Yeah. You know, I went to a WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I helped get your uncle and your cousin's tickets to go to that too. That had to be crazy. I never really asked them what that was like because they were young.
Yeah, being young Mexican kids in San Diego with a Rey Mysterio WrestleMania.
No, probably we didn't go to. We went to LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even still.
Yeah. It was a triple. Was it a 4-way or a triple threat match between The Rock, it was The Rock, Big Show, and Triple H, I think, was the main event. And I swear to you, I have never heard a stadium get as loud as it did when The Rock's music started playing. Like, it was literally the most electrifying thing I've ever experienced, which was really crazy. It was nuts. So highly recommend if you can go to one of those big events, just for the anthropological study of it all. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
I will try. All right.
Yeah.
Should we try and get some news going?
Sure.
All right. This is coming from Mark Griffin over at Polygon. EA canceled their Black Panther game and closed the studio that they created to build that game, Cliffhanger Games. This was announced back in 2019, along with an Iron Man game. That game is still coming out, the Iron Man game.
TBD.
TBD. Since that announcement, they also announced the Rise of Hydra game, the Captain America Black Panther game. That's still happening, I think, later this year.
Yeah.
But
we've never seen gameplay of that game. Still,
correct. Mm-hmm.
Only cutscenes. Yeah,
only cutscenes. But we will not see gameplay of the Black Panther game.
I know, that's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. Did you hear the news about other game closures too, or?
Well, the other one was the Wonder Woman game that got canceled a couple weeks ago.
WB closed out a few studios. I didn't even know they had a studio in San Diego, but they did. They closed one out.
Oh,
recently.
really? What would they be doing in San Diego?
I don't know. Probably helping work on that Wonder Woman game. But yeah, that one's gone too. It's hard. It's hard to get, like to get.
I mean, they're expensive games to make, and then they get even more expensive with the IP, right?
And I think the problem comes down to at the end of the day, the IP is so expensive, right? Like that they need to make a huge return on it. So the conversation always comes back to, should we make this a games as a service game? You know what I mean? And I think that's the line that makes or breaks the completion of a game sometimes.
You have to make a X amount return on X amount dollars.
Because it's hard to put out a story game, without being sure that it's going to give you the numbers to justify the license and everything like that. At least in the case of WB, like, they own the license, so it's a little weirder. But like, I heard there was information leaked about Insomniac's like planned third Spider-Man game that got canceled as well.
Oh, there was like a third game, a Spider-Verse game.
Well, I think that was the game. Yeah,
the Wolverine game, the X-Men game.
Well, the Wolverine game's still coming out though, right?
Yeah, but I mean that whole game leaked out there.
Yeah, I know.
But the X-Men game, and then what else? There's another one part of that one. There's a Venom game, or there was a Venom, but who knows? I mean, that Summer Games Fest is next week, so
yeah, it's rough. Honestly, like when watching the Guardians made me remember that how critically acclaimed the story was for the Guardians video game from EA, I think, right? Like
Square.
Oh, Square. You're right. It was Square. And I couldn't enjoy that game because the gameplay just bored me to death. It just wasn't fun. You basically only play as Star-Lord and you like control the other characters as like AI characters. It's just not. I don't want to be Star-Lord. You don't want to. I want to be the other characters.
You want, the other ones are cooler.
Yeah.
Next up in our Marvel news, Vision Quest. That's starting to film here. So Vision Quest is the standalone Vision series or miniseries, whatever you want to call it, starring Vision. Ultron's back, and now casted Jocasta. Tiana Miller will be playing Jocasta.
I don't know who Tiana Miller is.
She is from the Fall of the House of Usher. Probably unknown if she's just a voice or mocapping. I mean, it's not like it's James Spader in an Ultron suit per se, but I would imagine something similar in that regard. Does a Jocasta tickle your fancy for a Vision Quest show or a Vision show?
Yeah, I think Jocasta's like Jocasta's appropriate to have, like she's kind of like a female Ultron Vision type character.
She's not a villain though, is she?
I think she might have been in the same way that like Vision was for like a minute. You know what I mean? Like, she is an Avenger eventually because everybody's an Avenger.
Does she have different powers than Ultron?
I mean, Ultron doesn't have powers. He's an AI. Like,
yeah, so she's just an AI.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, she's an AI. Yeah, like I don't remember specifically if she has any. Sorry, I guess I'm wrong in saying Ultron doesn't have powers because like Vision has powers and he's also an AI. Like I don't remember the power set specific if there is anything specific to Jocasta, but she is a character that I have a toy of, and I have read comics with her a long time ago. So
there's also this is kind of still rumor, but Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek is supposedly playing a human version of Edith in this show as well.
That's funny.
So we will see.
The Edith, as in the glasses, right?
Yes, Edith is the glasses lady from Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh, Tania Miller. I see. Okay, that's Jocasta. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, I see it. Okay, cool.
Nice. We are 2 months away from a Comic-Con where something like this will be all but confirmed. Typically, we still don't know if they're gonna be there. I think they dropped the nugget that piece that DC is gonna be there in some capacity.
Okay. Cool.
And then the last bit of news,
yeah.
we had some Marvel Legends get dropped today in the final fan stream before Comic-Con.
Right.
They showed off the Fantastic Four First Steps line. So you're getting an Invisible Woman, Johnny Storm, a Human Torch version of the Johnny Storm, I guess one and the same. A Flame On and Flame Off version of Johnny Storm, a Silver Surfer, The Thing, and Mr. Fantastic.
You literally described every wave of every Fantastic Four series.
But they're all movie versions. It's the movie versions. You get bendy arms with Mr. Fantastic.
I know, but I just think it's funny that that's literally the same set of characters that Hasbro every time.
Is this the first Shallabal Silver Surfer figure?
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe not, but like probably.
Okay.
There was a Silver Surfer cartoon back in the day, and they made a lot of toys off of that. It was from the people who did the Spider-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch that whenever?
I've seen a little bit of it. It's a little. Yeah. It's more. I feel like it's geared more towards for kids.
Sure. I mean, Spider-Man was too. So.
More so.
Yeah.
But the winner, the other part of the announcement, I think was the draw. They are doing a Gamerverse series of figures that are Marvel versus Capcom inspired.
Yeah, they've had a few pieces come out over the years.
They've done sculpts.
No, they've done a few pieces. They've done
the Iron Man big gun, right?
The big yeah, the proton cannon.
Proton cannon.
There's something else.
There's a War Machine.
Yes. There was a War Machine that was a repaint specifically to look the colors of that, but they never ever say Marvel versus Capcom.
Well, to be fair, these don't either.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like that's they for whatever reason legally they can't reference that game beyond the many ways they've already done it today in the stream and previously. But so it's only the Marvel characters, no Capcom characters included. And some of them it's a lot of parts reused for sure. But in the cases that matter the most, they
There's
are
a
retooled
new head sculpts.
new
So
head
let me
sculpts, new color schemes, and some new bodies entirely. Like
and
I'm very
effects. Yeah, effects.
and also new effects for everything. Yeah.
All right. So
Like
the
the Wolverine. Oh,
the
you got
first
them.
2-pack, you get a Wolverine versus Silver Samurai. It
In,
looks like the X-Men 97 Wolverine with new boots and head, right? Or is it
it's a
completely new?
brand new Wolverine.
Brand new Wolverine,
It's a
ladies and
brand new
gentlemen.
Wolverine. That they say can now achieve the crouch position that he does in the video game. Like,
There you go.
yeah,
That's a
it's
good
a
looking
brand new
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I like the big ears or the big
Yeah,
fins.
the big ears are cool. The Silver Samurai, on the other hand, is 100% a parts reuse. Like that's just repackaging the Silver Samurai that they've already made before, but with some cool accessories. He's got that giant like shuriken.
Shuriken, yeah. Well, Wolverine has like the slash.
Yeah, he has the slash too, so they come with cool effects for sure.
Next 2-pack, we get a Psylocke and Thanos 2-pack. The Thanos is a repaint with a new head.
You should have ended with that one, man.
Oh,
that is the chef's kiss of 2-packs right there.
Oh no,
that Psylocke is pristine. It is the Psylocke
pinless, all new sculpt,
brand new sculpt. It's on the super articulated female body.
Mm-hmm.
She even comes with hand accessories, so she can take the exact pose from the starting position in the video games. She's got like multiple butterfly like effects, to attach to her face and everything. She's got it all, man. And she's got 2 head sculpts, one with the hair flowing in the wind and the other, standing down. And then the Thanos, honestly, like I think the reason this, like, because I've seen a lot of fan reactions today from about this wave, and I think the thing that has people so excited, even about the Thanos, is for a lot of people, those games were their introduction to these characters. So they're kind of like the definitive looks for a lot of people, you know what I mean? And so the way that Thanos looks is a lot of people's Thanos, you know what I mean? So it's really cool. It's a cool 2-pack for sure. What else?
Next up, we got War Machine versus Omega Red.
This is the least interesting. These are all reused. I think they come with effects, maybe
repaint, but they do come with effects.
I heard somebody say something about the tentacles being bendy, but they look exactly the same as the ones I've have already twice, because they've already they've released Omega Red twice with slight repaints.
The next one is Captain America versus Venom in that lovely shade of blue.
Not only that, the Hasbro team confirmed that it's actually new parts to make the Cap beefier than previous toys. So he is a more muscular build. I think his chest is different and stuff. And but yeah, that Venom, again, that's a lot of people's first introduction to Venom. And it's
the slime in the mouth.
It's a very stylized look. He's very blue, the way Capcom animated him and drew him. It's a cool look. I'm not mad at it.
I think the piece, or the 2 big boys of the group, we get a Juggernaut. It is the biggest Juggernaut to date in terms of Marvel Legends.
Yep.
All new sculpts, ankle rockers,
and he's got shoulder butterfly shoulders.
Has punch effects. He's a big boy. Fan channel exclusive.
He's large. Yeah.
The one I would think most people are excited for is, they're calling him Gargantos, but we know who this guy is. Shumagorath.
Yeah, I think he was Gargantos in the Doctor Strange.
He was Gargantos movie. In the Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. He was Monstro. Something Stro.
Was he?
I don't think he was Garganto. I could be wrong. He's not Shumagorath.
Yeah, we put in a big quote around the knot.
Why can't they use that name? Is that?
I don't know, dude. I'm not sure why, but whatever legal reasons, they don't want to.
The big eyeball tentacle monster that we all know from Marvel vs. Capcom. He's finally getting a figure. They're finally getting a figure with all bendy arms,
and that eyeball moves.
He comes with like a little mini eyeball thing, that accessory that that he throws, right?
No, it's a shape that he takes in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Where like he turns it's a drop he does from the air
sucks
where
in.
He pulls it all in, turns and spikes out, and then he drops straight down on the opponent. Yeah, that's a move he does.
But he can cross his arms, and that is by far the coolest thing ever.
It's really
cool. Seen that picture?
I have not seen the picture. Yeah,
there's one where he like his arms are like this.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it is a fantastic wave. I'm not like I would say the obvious one is the War Machine Omega Red is very skippable. Very skippable.
Oh wow, I didn't realize the Juggernaut's bigger than Thanos.
Oh, the Juggernaut is huge, and that's why like a lot of the people I've seen reacting to this, the Juggernaut and the Psylocke are the two most impressive ones. But yes, obviously the Shumagorath, aka Gargantos, is an amazing thing to have in your collection for sure. So yeah, no, they did a great job. All of these things are going to go up for pre-order next week in the different days. Unfortunately, the Psylocke is a Target exclusive, and those are historically the worst ones to try and pre-order because bots be botting, man. So good luck, everybody.
Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks.
But yeah, that's the news.
Yeah, that was the most excited I've been about toy news in a long time. Actually, those are very cool figures. So kudos to the Hasbro team for putting out something cool. I can't wait to see what they do at Comic-Con. I will go to their panel while you're at the Marvel Studios panel.
No, we went to the one last year together.
Oh yeah, they did it on Friday this time, huh? Mm-hmm. This last time, yeah. So, but whatever.
All right.
Can we talk about Guardians now?
We can talk about Guardians. Guardians of the Galaxy came out in 2014, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana.
Was that one of the best years for Marvel?
I mean, it's Winter Soldier and Guardians. Yeah, that's probably one of the best years.
Those are two amazing movies, right? You can list the rest of the cast. I mean, there's so many.
Bradley Cooper.
Vin Diesel. Batista.
Dave Batista.
Glenn Close.
Michael Rooker. Glenn Close.
John C. Reilly. Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
Jaimin Hansu. Karen Gillan. Lee Pace. Sean Gunn. Peter Serafinowicz. This movie...
Thanos,
Josh Brolin. Oh my god, yeah. This movie, I'll never get tired of watching this movie. I think, like, you know, I was having this conversation with Lindsay earlier about like how this is the movie that made her pay attention to the Marvel movies that we went to see from here on out, because as much as she liked the Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America the Winter Soldier, I think it's called, it's an action thriller, and and that's not necessarily her thing, you know what I mean? But like, this movie was its own thing, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know there's other movies like it, but it was so unique, and so it dared to be so different from anything that we had seen previously, that you were mesmerized from the very beginning. You're just like, what am I watching? And then the story for like the first hour of that movie, it just nonstop introducing zany ass characters. You know what I mean? Like, every time you think you're done meeting a new character, like, I swear, I think it's like an hour in, and then the Collector shows up, and you're like, oh my god, is everybody trying to outdo the person that we just met before them? You know,
such a dense movie in terms of world building, but it all feels very fluid.
It's organic. Yeah, it's quite organic. Yeah,
nothing is like forced. And I mean kudos to James Gunn, the writing that pulls the double duty of like delivering the exposition on like what these things are and how they relate to the world.
Benicio's explanation of the Infinity Stones is my favorite explanation of the Infinity Stones in the MCU because he made it interesting. At the end of the day, it's still exposition.
Yeah.
But like exposition doesn't have to be rote. It doesn't have to be boring. You know what I mean? And like he like it's funny because Lindsay was telling me like as far as she's concerned, him and the Grand Master are her two favorite characters in the MCU
The
because
brothers.
yeah, but because they're so interesting because they are super ancient. You know what I mean? Like they've been in this universe for so long.
The way I mean, so Benicio plays the Collector, right?
Yes.
And the story, like the Guardians don't care, right? For this movie, for the most part of the movie, the Guardians don't care about saving the world, right? They want to get paid.
Yeah,
and
until the third act.
And who in the universe would pay for an Infinity Stone? Oh yeah, the Collector. Like it's just the story beats that they have and the characters that they introduce just fits so like well in that puzzle piece of a story that like, yeah, of course the Collector would want this stone. Oh, the Collector's kind of a weird dude. Yeah, like it's I can't think of like a more perfect like complete Marvel story like end to end.
It's true. It's because and it's like what I was saying earlier in the show is like I think the really cool thing about this movie is like yes, it exists in the larger Marvel universe in that like it shows you the Tesseract in the image. It shows you the ether. You meet the Collector, and if you're paying attention, this is the second time we've met the Collector, right? We're meeting characters, a lot of characters for the first time, but not Thanos and the Collector. This is the second time we're meeting both of them. But this movie doesn't miss a beat in making sure that you as a viewer who might be your first time watching a Marvel movie, or it might be, you know, the 8th movie or in the whatever. It makes sure that you understand everything you need to know for this story within itself. Now, I know that we love to talk about how like the magic of the MCU is the revisionist history, right? Where they can go back, they can add things in a later movie that recontextualize the current
movie doesn't need it.
It doesn't need it. And in fact, every time you think this movie is like weird and dumb or whatever, like when Peter supposedly sacrifices himself like out in space and saves Gamora, this movie not once, not twice, but 3 times through the entire movie lets you know that Peter is not human. And so if you still by the end of this movie are feeling like that's stupid that he survived in space, then you missed all the clues that they were giving you. Even the last one, which is very much not a clue, which is like, hey Peter, your dad's not human. Like that's the last time they tell him, right? And then you know Yondu, and then you find out that Yondu was hired by whoever his dad was. So like they're actually setting up a sequel rather than they could have done it the Marvel way, right? Which, and by Marvel way I mean like they could have just not mentioned it, and then the second movie you learn his dad's ego and been like, oh, now that makes the first one make sense. But no, James Gunn wanted to tell a tight story that can exist on its own, and I think this movie is better for it because you get to pick up on little things the more you watch it. You know what I mean? Like the more you see it, and then also like, oh my god, the Rocket stuff, like Rocket, like when Drax is talking about his dead family and he's like, everybody's got dead people, you know, like we can't just sit around, you know, like crying about it. Man, that pays off real hard in 2 more movies. I'm just saying. Like the seeds are planted through the whole movie, you know.
But it's also just a perfect storm of like, all right, we're on a Marvel high, right? You're coming Avengers, Iron Man 3, Captain America, and
forget about Thor 2.
Thor 2. And yeah,
that's
movie, right.
That's why my wife was jaded by then, by the way, because she was a big fan of the Norse mythology. So like by the time we got to Captain America, she had already felt like her one character was pooped on.
You mean this is like the first in like 3 or 4 movies at this point, right? The first new IP.
Yeah.
And you take a big swing on Chris Pratt, right? Who at that time was killing it on Parks and Rec. And you put him in this movie, and he just, I mean, it's like it's like watching it's like what The Rock wished the Scorpion King did for his career at that time, right? Like,
yeah,
they got the perfect man for the job.
You never know if the like taking a chance on an actor in a big budget new IP is going to pay off. But I think it wasn't just that Chris Pratt made this so awesome. It's that like it is an amazing ensemble like of actors that that all really share an like awesome chemistry on screen. And I think that has to do. I mean, like Bautista would go so far as to say it's because of James Gunn. You know what I mean? Like Dave Bautista does not want to play Drax if he's not directed by James Gunn. Like he's said that many times over. That's how much he feels James Gunn matters to the Guardians of the Galaxy stories, you know, so
all the great Bautista we've gotten since then, like it all started with Guardians.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd been in movies before that, but nothing.
Man with the Iron Fist, and like a non-speaking role. Or
he was in a James Bond movie too.
After this.
Oh, was it after this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's no. Everybody in this story is. I think there's somebody for everybody in this movie. I think. Who's your favorite character in this movie? I'm just curious.
I mean, I like Star-Lord. I like Star-Lord a lot. They took the unknown, or a relatively unknown character, relatively unknown team, and they used it as a blank slate to tell this really cool story. And what they did was Star-Lord's character, right, with tying him to the Walkman or his music. That's like default Star-Lord now.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to find a Star-Lord without Walkman. Yeah.
Do you know who my favorite character is?
I'm gonna say Rocket. No. Oh, no, it's Nebula. Yeah, Nebula.
My favorite character in the MCU is Nebula. I fell in love with Karen Gillan in this role. I don't know what it is about her. I think just the way she acts in this movie is not the way a typical. It's not the role that is typically written for women. I mean, she yells at people like constantly in this movie. She's just like, just everything about her mannerisms. She's just fully committed to this character.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, the sarcasm and stuff like that. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, Lindsay was pointing out that there's a lot of me in this movie. That she sees a lot of characters that have a lot of my characteristics, and I couldn't help but seeing what she was talking about. But like, she's saying I'm a mix of Star-Lord and Rocket because essentially they're kind of the same character, as we learn as the movies go on, right? Like those two have more in common than they think, even though Rocket says ain't no one like me except me. He might be wrong. He might be wrong about that. But I think, the part that was killing me the most in this movie, Yondu is my other favorite character, by the way. And the thing that was cracking us up about the Yondu moments with Peter is Yondu's story that he keeps trying to tell to somehow endear himself to Peter, which is, when we first got you, they all wanted to eat you because they never tasted Terran flesh before, and I didn't let them. And then when Peter finally snaps and says, "Cool, that's not a cool story that you're telling me," like that's not like it's not what you think it is, you know,
Yeah.
to have you saved me from getting eaten by your friends. Awesome. Way to go, pal. Like it triggered, like today watching it, it triggered this amazing flashback for me that may be oversharing, but whatever. I feel like I will. But you know, I have cerebral palsy. I am in a wheelchair, and my dad has not necessarily been the most empathetic human being on the planet. And I remember the numerous times in my life where my dad told me, you know, when we found out you had cerebral palsy, I thought about leaving your mom. But you know, I didn't.
Go dad.
And if that ain't Yondu, man, I don't know what is. And so it just cracked me up to see. Maybe that's what I find charming about Yondu is he's this guy. He don't get me wrong. I do believe Yondu means well. You know what I mean? Like, and we get that, right? We get that the longer we go, like the more movies in, because we get Yondu in every movie, right? Like
he's technically in the third one too, yeah.
Yeah, he is, right? Yeah. we get to see the sides of Yondu that maybe are why Peter stuck around for as long as he did, you know what I mean? But like,
well, really in the second one, there's that flashback scene where they go through it, right? Where he was this pseudo parent, his father.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, we'll save that for the next movie, but I'm your daddy is like
yeah, I may not be your father, but I'm your daddy, boy, you know. Yeah. But no, I think what's cool about this movie is you could fan fiction the crap out of it just based off of what you got in this movie, because your head could go off in so many directions about these different characters. And I think what's fun about the second and third movie and the Christmas one is you get to see James Gunn fans fiction of all of this, right? Because essentially, like, you know, that's the one conceit. Like, if you're interested in the Guardians of the Galaxy comics because of the movie, you may be slightly shocked because it's not the same. Now, don't get me wrong, like you said, they have since, you know, retroactively adjusted them to be more and more in line with that, because they found their soul, right? Like that's what James Gunn did, is he found characters that people identify with. And I think that's what made this such a joyful movie, is that you didn't have to know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, it was almost like, again, like the MCU's at such a high, right? You have this killer movie that's just so jam-packed with Marvel that after this movie came out, I mean, they're a master plan of what the overarching story is, but from like a fan perspective, after this movie came out, oh my god, they talked about the Kree. Are we going to see the Kree? If there's Kree, that means there's Skrulls, right? Like the Celestials. Wait, that means
Eternals,
right? Or
oh, it did a lot of heavy lifting. Yeah, it really did.
You know, like,
but it didn't
Galactus
feel heavy.
is a Celestial, right? That can Galactus. Like the world was like anything could happen after this movie.
Yeah, because it brought space in.
Remember the whole like, there's a cocoon in the back of the Collector's thing. Is that Adam Warlock? Is Adam Warlock in this thing? Is he gonna show up? Is that how
there's Cosmo. What's up with that? You know, there's Howard the Duck. Is he gonna be a thing? You know, like
fortunately he was a thing in What If.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, isn't that amazing that like Seth Green showed up for like the one line he does in this movie in the post credits, and I bet he never imagined in a million years that would lead to him having his own What If episode with Darcy, where they create Natasha Lyonne as their baby. Yeah, it's so weird, but no, this movie brings in what was missing from the Marvel universe in a big way, which was like everything beyond Earth. You know what I mean? Like, I would argue though that we were still missing a giant chunk of the Marvel universe just on Earth, and that we didn't have mutants and Fantastic Four. And when I say mutants, I include Atlanteans. You know what I mean? I include like I was like, when are we gonna get to the ocean? You know what I mean? Like, because there's some crazy stuff going on in there. I say that about our real ocean all the time too.
I mean, but you needed this, right? You needed this movie to go like fully left in the weird. That, oh yeah, maybe I will buy that. There's like an Atlantis in this world.
Exactly. Because once you can accept it, because I think the weird thing about Avengers is still from our perspective, right? It's from it, like the way we see that wormhole is through Iron Man's eyes. The way we see what's on the other end of it is still through his perspective. And then in Iron Man 3, it's like he's the one having the trauma of seeing all that. But it's like, okay, but like I would like to see a bigger picture of what's on the other end of that wormhole. And that's what we finally got with this movie.
I mean, shit. The Nova Corps in here. Does Nova exist? There's a Nova Prime. Wait, hold on. Where's Richard Rider? Right? Like,
yeah. What else are we not seeing? Like this is giving us it's like the tip of the iceberg, right? Like this is blowing up the universe and making it feel like an actual universe, because it's called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before this, it was really just New York and a little bit of LA, right? Like that's what this was, right? Like essentially. So yeah, this I mean, even Peter coming from a town that wasn't in New York or LA was refreshing to have happen, you know, like it's like, oh yeah, I guess sometimes aliens show up and just grab people in the South for no reason at all. You know, we find out there's a reason later, but yeah. And then there's just like a lot of really beautiful like poetry in this story too. Like, you know, his mom trying to get him to hold her hand one last time before she passes, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And then that moment comes full circle back when he's about to die because he's holding the Infinity Stone. And then he hears Gamora say, "Hold my hand, Peter." And he sees his mom, you know, like it's a beautiful moment, because you're not sure, like, is this a hallucination because of the stone? Is this him just having an internal struggle? Like what was it about then that's different in him now? Is Gamora bringing that out of him? Like there's a lot of really beautiful moments in this movie, and honestly, every time they come back, there's a lot of beautiful moments. So like I just really had such a joy of a time rewatching this movie, and this is the highest point I think that we got for a while in the MCU, because
because I mean we were at it's that unlimited potential, right? Like, you're on such a high, and this really solidified it. Like, oh shit, they're going there with like. I could see like some of the argument like after like post Avengers, right? Oh, how are we gonna get to a Thanos? Like, is Thanos gonna be? Is it going to be an Earth thing, right? Or is it going to be a global thing? And this movie really just, you know, it's like I would say like the Big Bang of the MCU, right? Like, like we have even more so than like Asgard, like
because Asgard just felt. I think the problem with Asgard is it just felt too human, right? Like everybody there just still looked like people. Like they all look like normal people. And so it was nice on Xandar and Nowhere and all the different places we went to actually see other aliens, you know, like granted they were mostly humanoid, but whatever, that's, you know, you can explain that away however you want. Like that's Star Trek too, you know what I mean? That's maybe it's the implication is biologically humanoid is the most efficient thing for space travel. Who knows?
Hey, man, bipedal racism just or non-bipedal racism just exists in the universe.
It just exists. Yeah, so just accept that. But whatever the case, like there's a lot of really cool new looking characters in this story. The Ravagers are filled with all kinds of weird freaks that you're just like, what is that guy? Who is this one? I want to know more about that, you know. You got Xandar seems to be made up of different types of people. Peter had like a random one in his ship that he forgot about, that he clearly banged previously the night before or something, before the adventure started. That's, there's a lot of like character hints that are given just about who he is as a person. He's very much in Arrested Development, right? Because like he was literally grabbed out of his home after his mom died. He hadn't processed any of that, and he's like probably what, 10, 11 years old.
I'd say Peter Pan syndrome, right? He never grows up.
He never grows up, and so it's funny that his name is Peter, because that's what he's doing. But yeah, no, it's like all of these characters, they all see something in him that makes them want to stick around, and eventually by the end of this movie, they defeat Ronan through the power of friendship, right? Like they could not beat Ronan. They couldn't beat him any other way. They had to use the power of friendship to stop him. And shout out to Lee Pace. Honestly, the more I watch him play Ronan in this movie, the more
Shakespearean actor Lee Pace.
I know. I do enjoy him in this movie, even if he's a one and done.
I mean, he was down the clown. He wasn't one and done.
I know, but he comes back in a prequel, like for a little bit, But he's not even the main villain in that movie, in the Captain Marvel. Like he like shows up at the end or something. Yeah, but I do really love the performances that James Gunn got out of everybody in this movie. Especially like I think Benicio del Toro again really just hammed it up so hard in the one. He's only got one moment in this whole movie.
Let's be real. There's only there are more Guardians of the Galaxy rides than there are at least Disneyland Spider-Man rides right now. That's no coincidence. There are two Guardians of the Galaxy rides.
What's the other one?
It's a roller coaster in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It goes. You're like fighting not Tiamat, but the judge. What's the name? The red one.
The red one?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
The red celestial.
Oh, I think it is named Tiamat. Yeah, I think so.
Is it Tiamat?
I could be wrong, but I think so.
Sounds driving me crazy. Yeah, you fight him.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I did not know they had another ride in Florida.
Yeah, they replaced I can't remember what it was.
But in fairness, a lot of this movie is a ride. We've been talking so much about the characters, we've kind of glossed over. Like, I think the thing that I remember saying about when this movie came out, the first time I watched it, I came out of that theater and I said, that was the best Star Wars movie I've seen in years.
It's our generation Star Wars.
Yeah, because the space battles, the space that they give you in this movie is super fun. And
Arishem.
Oh, Arishem. You're right. Gotcha. Yeah. Tiamat is the name of a different one, though.
It's the island from the Celestials.
Oh, the one that's coming out of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's a ride in this movie, basically. Like a lot of the times they're just showing you moments where people are piloting a ship, kind of like Top Gun style, where they're just like shaking in the ship, and it's giving you the feeling of the excitement that's happening in the space battles and stuff. And I just really loved it. You could tell that it was very much inspired by those Star Wars movies and stuff. The other thing that I thought was really cool that kind of snuck in there, that I don't think I ever noticed it until today rewatching it, but the scene when Ronan has the Dark Aster, and if he can land it on Xandar, he's going to destroy all of Xandar, right? So they're trying to stop him from doing it, and so they create, the Nova Corps creates the big net of their ships, and it's holding it. They're holding still, and then Ronan tells his soldiers to begin their plan, and they start just dive bombing.
The the Sicarians, which at that time, what's on Sakaar? Oh, that's where Hulk is. That's where World War Hulk takes.
he will
Not
be
World War Hulk.
eventually.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
layers this movie has.
But when they're coming down and you're watching people just die because like of this suicide bombing basically kamikaze piloting that's taking place, and then all of a sudden Rocket and the Ravagers show up, right? And they show up, they kind of plant themselves like near the base of the ground or of the planet, and they turn up, they point their ships straight up and start blasting stuff out of the sky, and they say, "Don't let them touch the ground." Do you know what that is?
No. What?
That's Space Invaders. You're literally watching them do Space Invaders, and I was like, did James Gunn freaking sneak Space Invaders into this movie? Because that's a video game that's probably a little too old for you, but like everybody my age
I saw
grew up
Pixel
with
starring Adam Sandler.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the premise, right? For some reason, all of these ships just want to come down to the Earth, and you have to stop them. And that's what the Ravagers started doing in that movie. It's just a brief moment in that movie, but I just thought it was really funny. So the whole movie is just filled with James Gunn's childhood. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes it so endearing to us as viewers, is we feel the love and we feel the nostalgia for all these things that we loved. You know, like he calls the Sicarian Ninja Turtles and stuff, and like just so many little things in there that just like say, hey, I'm stuck in this time, and so I want this movie to be stuck in this time, and I will show you that through these things that, you know, these crazy characters and the things they do, but I'll also let you hear it through the beautiful soundtrack that we play. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, best soundtrack in a Marvel movie, probably.
Well, it's
right?
like what is Frank's phrase? Diegetic music. It's all.
Oh yeah,
in universe.
It's in yeah. All of the music in this movie is diegetic, right? Because they're actually listening to it, and it just makes it that much better, because they found a way to squeeze in all this music from the 70s and stuff into this crazy space adventure. You know what I mean? And like, you grew up watching Star Wars, and you could never imagine hearing the Jackson 5 playing in a Star Wars movie, because it would just be wrong.
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I could gush over this forever, but like, do you agree this one's probably top 5 also in the MCU to date? Or do you place the other ones higher than this?
I think this is the best Guardians movie.
Really?
Yeah. I think that for me, the James Gunn trick wore out. Or I'll say wore out, but you know, it's like going to the same concert 3 times in a row, right? Like,
yeah, for me, I think the third one might still be my favorite, because I think it's a different concert in the third one, in that like Peter's not the star of that movie.
I do appreciate that movie in terms of the maturity of those characters, and I think just the MCU as a whole, tonally, it's a very different movie. Like, they're not afraid to get serious in that one. Yeah. For better or worse.
This movie was definitely afraid to let them get serious for a lot.
Yeah.
Of it. I mean, even I wouldn't say it's undercut, but even the sacrifice group made didn't get to fully
didn't breathe.
It didn't get to breathe the way we wanted it to, because then we got presented this weird baby Groot at the end of the movie, and we're like, oh, is that the same person? Is he coming back? And I think we learn later on it's actually not the same person. Like, it's a new Groot, you know, and he's gonna have new experiences, and he's gonna behave differently and stuff. But it felt a little undercut at the time when you know, he died and stuff. So this movie, I think,
he was the best looking Groot, I will say.
Well, it was a victim of the thing that, you know, our former co-host Frank has criticized the MCU for constantly doing, which is undercutting serious moments with a joke, with a, and I think this movie,
that's more of a James Gunn thing, though.
Is it, or is it an MCU thing already that James Gunn just continued doing, or maybe that's why he fit in so good with their vibe? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's not James Gunn's thing. Also,
it's a little bit both fed on each other.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah, to your point.
Did watching this get you more excited for Superman, or
I am less invested in those characters.
In just Superman?
from yes. And
wow.
I mean, it's a new universe, right? So
I mean, you weren't invested in the Guardians before you watched it.
Yeah, but I was already invested in the MCU at that point.
Okay.
I like Peacemaker and on Creature Commandos. So
Blue Beetle?
Who knows, right? Like it's maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, watching this movie made me more excited because it reminds me what James Gunn is capable of if he is given complete creative freedom. Because that's like, whether or not, this made you more excited for Superman, and whether or not you believe that the other Guardians movies are better, would you agree that the Guardians movies are the best trilogy so far in the MCU?
Yeah, well, so the James Gunness of it all, right? I think it post this, it opened the door for other creators to tell a Marvel story. I mean, famously, right? Edgar Wright was going to do an Ant-Man movie. Me and you saw that man on stage show Ant-Man footage, and they just couldn't nail down the story. Edgar Wright wanted to tell an Edgar Wright story featuring Ant-Man versus a Marvel story. And I think James Gunn, granted this movie came up before Ant-Man, chipped away at that hesitation, right? They got the ship going at this point, and you can now get a little weird with it. And for better or for worse, Guardians, it's because of Guardians, right? This was probably their biggest risk at the time, and it paid off. And that's a kudos to Gunn. That's a kudos to Feige, right, for making that call. Letting them get weird, right? I mean, because like with this movie, after this, again, they weren't as good, but we got a Suicide Squad movie, right? What else did we get after this movie? We got now I'm blanking. Like, well, what immediately goes right after?
I mean, you could argue this movie inspired the David Ayer Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no, for sure. We got so that's what I'm saying. We got David Ayer. We got a Venom movie after this. Like, like fuck it, everyone's getting a movie after Guardians. Like it. Superhero movies are in right now, and that's
I think Guardians and Ant-Man were like the two that said, look, if they can have an Ant-Man movie and a Guardians movie, anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say Ant-Man was as successful like as a story, but I do think Ant-Man did inspire a lot of creativity and awe, and because the Ant-Man was all about like, don't you remember the magic of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Wasn't that awesome?
They shrunk post Avengers, right? They chose to tell a smaller story, and it still proved to be entertaining.
But I mean, technically, what's funny about Guardians is like the stakes weren't even that small. Like they like John C. Reilly has kind of a really cool moment at the end of this movie where he like introduces them. Or he reintroduces them to their ship, and they're like really, Peter's really moved by the gesture of them rebuilding his ship for him, and he's like, "Look, I have a family here, and they're alive because of you." And like, so like if you didn't understand the stakes of this movie, because you're just enthralled in the fun and the action and the dance battle and the Kevin Baconness of it all, like he makes sure you get it. Like they actually saved an entire planet from destruction, which I think was pretty cool because like they kind of exposition that, but like there's so much fun going on that you kind of lose track that that's like Ronan's goal is just to go and wipe out these people because of some, you know, he's a zealot and he just, you know, it's a he's doing a
war.
He's doing a holy war for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a cool thing that John C. Reilly got to like put the cherry on top at the end of the movie and just be like, hey, just to be clear, that's what you guys did. Now, that said, it is pretty sad that the later writers will totally undo the goodness that the Guardians did by telling you off screen that Xandar was completely destroyed by Thanos. And it's like, oh, so John C. Reilly's whole family's dead too.
Hey, man, it may pay dividends for a Nova show eventually.
True. Yeah.
But overall, I think we both like Guardians. It's a high point in the MCU. I'm trying to think what's next. Is Avengers next?
I think Age of Ultron is the next movie that comes after this. I think so. Because Ant-Man's after Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah. Let me see. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Avengers Age of Ultron. Wow, that movie came out in May and Ant-Man came out in July.
Yeah. That's why they wanted Ant-Man to really tie into it. Which is where Edgar said, I'm done.
It's like, peace.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. But for now, that movie was awesome. I love Guardians of the Galaxy with or without the in front of it. And I look forward to when we get to revisit the second one again. And I honestly, like, I am very tempted to go back and watch the third one this weekend, only because I have only seen it once ever.
Wow.
Because it's one of the only MCU movies to ever make me cry. That's why I haven't gone back, because it's the animal abuse of it all, man. It hurts. It hurts to watch it, and it feels it's a lot of feels in that movie, and I think that's why I like that one the most, is because like you finally get the rocket payoff that was so beautifully set up. There's so many teases in this movie, right? Like even Peter can't help but stare at Rocket's back when they're in the prison, and you can see the look on Peter's face. He's like, what is that? You know, like, so there's a lot of foreshadowing for sure. So, but yeah, I'm done. I'm done talking about this.
Awesome. You're done. We're done. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week. And with that, true believers,